Good morning, all. On behalf of the Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, the State Department for Planning for Lands and Fiscal Planning, I take this opportunity to warmly welcome all participants to this consultative virtual meeting between the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service and the staff of the State Department. To begin, I want to invite Caxton Manzi to lead us in the opening prayer. Thank you.
Shall we pray? Our dear everlasting Father, we are before the present this morning. We thank you for the gift of life you have given us for this opportunity to be here and also to reflect on our State Department. We thank you for the leadership of our country. We thank you for the leadership of the ministry. We thank you for the leadership of our State Department and also the leadership of our Chief of Staff. We are praying as we start this meeting. We are praying for your wisdom. We are praying for your kindness as we engage in our discussion. Grant us insight to evaluate our progress honestly, courage to address our challenges, and unity of purpose as we strive to improve the service delivery for the benefit of all Kenyans. In the mighty name, we pray, believing, and trusting. Amen.
Allow me now to acknowledge the presence of the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service. Also present with us is the Principal Secretary, the State Department for Lands and Physical Planning, the Principal Administrative Secretary in the Executive Office of the President, Mr. Arthur Osia, other senior officers from the Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, the State Department for Lands and Physical Planning, and the directors from the headquarters and the field. We have also members of Board of Valuers, Registration Board, Surveyors, and Fiscal Planners Registration Board. All distinguished officers of the State Department from across the country, and we reserve a very special welcome to each one of you, our invited guests who have logged in this meeting from across the length and the breadth of this country, whether you are logged in individually or in groups. This includes staff from the field, land registrars, land surveyors, valuers, adjudication and settlement officers, planners, land administration, office administrator, support staff, members of the National Lands Information and Management System. We welcome you to the meeting. This meeting is going to proceed as per the following protocols. To ensure smooth meeting, kindly observe the following protocols. You do self-introduction, introduce yourself in the chat section by indicating your name, designation, station, and county where you are in a group. Provide a list. This is a Zoom webinar that has been extended also to the YouTube. Microphones, you will note that this meeting is being held in a webinar format, and all participant microphones are currently switched off. For those who may wish to speak during the plenary session, kindly raise up your hand, after which our technical team will enable your microphone. Questions and clarifications. Participants are directed to use the Q&A function for questions that require responses during the session. The chat use. The chat section should primarily be used for introduction and brief comments. Dissemination of the materials. Please note that all material, including the PowerPoint presentations, the recording of this meeting, as well as the speeches made by our guest, the Chief of Staff, will be sent to you using the emails you used to register. Social media pages, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, Felix Kosgei, Facebook and X and TikTok, and the name Koskei is spelled K-O-S-K-E-I. It's a K, not a G. Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service is also on YouTube. Please, when you're in a group or individually, send your pictures following the consultative meeting, whether alone or in groups, to the WhatsApp number 0722 229 229. I want to repeat again. You send the pictures to this WhatsApp number 0722 229 229. Allow me now, we transition to the program. I want to welcome, to begin with, I invite Mr. Arthur Osia, CBS, Principal Administrative Secretary in the Executive Office of the President, to deliver his welcome remarks. Karibu, Mr. Osia.
Thank you very much, Florence Amoit, S.A. Lance, our Chief of Staff, Head of Public Service, who is also our convener this morning, the Principal Secretary, State Department for Lands and Physical Planning, Honorable Generali Nixon Korir, all chairpersons of boards, members of boards, and CEOs of institutions within the State Department, senior officials and staff from the State Department, all distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Arthur Osia, Principal Administrative Secretary, Executive Office of the President. Our chief guest, allow me to extend a warm welcome to all of us who are engaged in this important session, which brings together leadership and staff across all cadres within the lands and physical planning sector. This session forms part of the ongoing series of structured and consultative engagements across the public service. The Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service has been undertaking a deliberate and a well-coordinated program of engagements aimed at strengthening coherence, reinforcing unity of purpose, and shaping strategic focus across the entire public service. These engagements are anchored within the broader revitalization and re-energization agenda, a flagship reform initiative designed to consolidate the gains made, deepen institutional alignment, and renew our collective commitment to disciplined, ethical, and result-driven service delivery. While this reform agenda spans the entire public service, it is recognized that different sectors face distinct operational realities. Accordingly, tailored engagements such as this are necessary to ensure that sector-specific challenges are addressed and the performance improvements are both measurable and sustainable. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to report that under the stewardship of the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, This reform agenda has gained significant traction across government. Extensive engagements have already been undertaken across multiple sectors, with encouraging levels of uptake and alignment emerging. This office has held consultations with all regulatory authorities and agencies, all leaderships of public universities, including chancellors, vice chancellors, council members, deans, and registrars, all leaderships of technical and vocational education and training institutions, including chairpersons of councils, boards, principals, deputy principals, and heads of departments. All heads of human resource function across the public service, all public finance management officers, including heads of internal audit, finance officers, accountants, and procurement officers, all public officers of all cadres across all duties, both within and outside the borders of our country. All the leaderships of research institutions with a consistent message conveyed, all national government administration officers, NGAO, all the leaderships of our primary and secondary schools in the Republic, all staff across all cadres, in the health sector drawn from both the national and county governments, all staff across all cadres in water and sanitation sector drawn from both national and county governments, all staff of all cadres within the security ecosystem, including the National Police Service, all staff of all cadres within environment, climate and forestry ecosystem. Within the course of this week, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service will extend these sectoral engagements to professionals across the roads, energy, and transport sectors. Today's focus on the State Department for Lands and Physical Planning and institutions under the State Department is extremely important given the critical role these institutions play as citizen-focused entities. The land and physical planning sector must function effectively and set the agenda for all the other sectors. This is critical given the central role it plays in securing land tenure, enabling orderly development, supporting investment, and ensuring efficient, transparent, and sustainable land administration for the benefit of the present and the future generations. The ultimate objective is clear: to ensure that this revitalization and re-energization agenda permeates every level of governance and reaches every corner of the Republic, embedding a culture of accountability, discipline, professionalism, and results-oriented service delivery throughout the public service. Above all, we must ensure that our efforts translate into a lived and felt experience for our citizens. The people of Kenya must experience a public service that is responsive, efficient, compassionate, and firmly aligned to their needs and aspirations. I therefore urge each one of us to take personal responsibility in cascading this message within our respective institutions. We must have additional separate meetings convened by the leaderships of our different institutions. The conversation and feedback sessions must continue at every level until the transformation we seek becomes visible, tangible, and undeniable. With those remarks, we are introducing a slight change in the program. The Principal Secretary will be invited to give his remarks slightly later after a few presentations have been done. And therefore, I want to take this opportunity again to welcome all of you to this meeting and call upon Dr. Linda to carry on with the program from there. Dr. Linda.
Thank you very much, our Principal Administrative Secretary, Mr. Arthur Osia, who has highlighted some very, very important aspects about this reform journey on which the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service is on. And this is jointly together with the different state departments headed by the Principal Secretaries. We continue to welcome you to this meeting that has been called, and we appreciate the presence of many of you from the lands offices across the country. Perhaps I could be able to point out maybe one or two people who have, of course, introduced themselves in the chat section. You're aware that you need to introduce yourself in the chat section by stating your name, your designation, and where you're logged in from. So we have, for example, Nicholas Kimeto, Clerical Officer 1, Vihiga Survey Department, Vihiga County, we see you. Lucy Kingori, Senior Records Management, Officer at Arthi House Headquarters. We have Jamlik Kinywa Miriti, Assistant Director Physical Planning from Arthi House. We have Emmanuel Maina, who is a Land Adjudication and Settlement Assistant 1, Baringo County. We see you from Fatuma Mohammed from the Mombasa Lands Registry. We also see you, Gregory Masika, the Assistant Director, Land Valuation, Nairobi Headquarters, Land Valuation Directorate. And we see you as well, Joshua Mutua, who is logged in from Kajiado and is the Assistant Director, Land Valuation, and many others that we see and will continue to call out as we continue. So as the Principal Administrative Secretary has pointed out, I wish to now call my colleague, Mr. Collins Kiprono, who is the Secretary Legal Affairs at the Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, to be able to unbundle for us the theme of this meeting so that we can all be able to understand the reason why we're here. Karibu Collins, thank you. As we address the issue with Collins's sound, I just want to read 2 or 3 more names, just to give him 2 minutes or a minute or a second to be able to, sort out the sound issue that he's experiencing. We also have Stephen Mutinda Mutua, is a Principal Land Surveyor, Kenya Institute of Surveying and Mapping, Nairobi County. We have Beth Mwongeli Moki, who is a Senior Valuer. Beth, you've not said where you've logged in from. And I also want to continue to bring to your attention just exactly what was said by the moderator at the beginning, Madam Amoit, who said that you need to be able to look at the icons at the bottom of your screen. These icons include the Q&A section, where you're being asked to be able to ask any question that you wish to ask from anywhere, so that it can be responded to within the Q&A section. You also have another icon at the bottom called the chat section, where, of course, you're actually introducing yourself, but use that as well to be able to have a discussion. You might want to put something there to express what you think or feel about the presentations that are being made. And then you also have the react button, which is supposed to help you to be able to express how you feel about something that has been said by someone. So I welcome my colleague Collins Kiprono to proceed from that point. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Linda Musumba, the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, the PS State Department for Land and Physical Planning, Honorable Nixon Korir, the Principal Administrative Secretary, Executive Office of the President, distinguished participants, colleagues from the State Department for Lands and Physical Planning, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. On behalf of the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, I'll be making a context-setting presentation for this particular engagement. And I will start by making an institutional perspective of the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, whose role basically is to support the organization, coordination, effectiveness, and execution of the government business. This is done across the entire public service. And at constitutional level, Article 132 of the Constitution provides for the basis for this particular role, and with particular reference to Article 132(3)(b), which mandates the President to direct and coordinate functions of the ministries, government departments, while Article 132(4)(a) empowers the President to establish any office within the public service as recommended by the Public Service Commission. When you go further to the enabling legal instruments, the National Government Coordination Act establishes the Office of the Head of Public Service under Section 7 of this particular act. And the Executive Office of the President is further espoused under Executive Order number 1 of 2025, which now basically gives the operational expression to the functions of the Chief of Staff and the head of Public Service. When you go to this Executive Order number 1 of 2025, and with particular reference to this office, it establishes 8 high-level functions, but we will focus this morning on 6 of those functions, being the ones that are most directly connected with the themes of this engagement. And just as a reminder, we have 3 thematic areas that we'll be delving into this morning. That is the issue of the constitutional values and principles of the public service. We have the issue of performance and efficiency. And finally, we have the aspect of delivery of quality and timely services being rendered to the public. If you could put up the presentation. The first role, when you look at the presentation that is about to be projected on the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Services, this office serves as the administrative head of the Executive Office of the President. And this is expressly provided under Section 7 of the National Government Coordination Act. And in this capacity, this office sits as the administrative center of the presidency and supports the orderly functioning of the Executive Office of the President. And for the land sector, this matters because land is one of the most sensitive areas within the public administration because it touches on the critical issues of ownership, the issue of tenure of security, settlement, valuation, all the way to basically just the public confidence in government, because governments are judged by what they do with this basic factor of production that is land. So this office therefore provides the high-level administrative anchor within government, ensuring that matters arising in the sector are situated within the wider framework of lawful administration, institutional order, and coordination and execution of the government business. Please put up the slide. The second function, I want us to follow through the slide so that if you are taking notes, we can be able to do that, is this office serves as an overarching mandate rather over all public entities. And by public entities, when you look at the definition of public entities, these are state organs, these are public bodies or corporations or institutions through which public functions are performed. And that is where you see all of us fall within that purview. So this function is done on behalf of the president, and supervision of the public service is done to ensure there is proper functioning of the government. This is equally relevant to the land sector, especially on the aspects of titling, the aspects of land registration, valuation, settlement, all the way to the digitization of records. This function, therefore, is directly, there is a need for coherence and reduced fragmentation because the land sector cannot exist on its own. The third function is the promotion of ethics, good governance, and efficiency and effectiveness within the public service, this ensures the deployment of the rightful skills, values, and leadership within the entire public service. When you go to the fourth function, it speaks to the transmittal of executive order, directives, orders, and presidential proclamation. These we are all aware because from time to time we receive the circulars from the Ministry of Lands, we receive circulars from the Office of the President, we receive circulars from the Public Service Commission, Salaries and Remuneration Commission, the National Treasury, where this is done to ensure that there's adequate communication being done by government to ensure that the same is cascaded for the sake of actioning any particular need that arises at that particular juncture. The fifth function is the transmittal of policy advisories by way of circulars. This speaks as well to the fourth function that I've mentioned. So this again is relevant to this land sector because circulars and advisories help the standardization and implementation of the policies with clarity, and it communicates the policy directions that is relevant at that particular point. We go to the sixth function. That is, this office is responsible for the overall effectiveness of the public service. In the context of the land sector, it's perhaps the most far-reaching of all because it means that the ultimate concern is not merely whether institutions exist, but whether they are producing the results that is expected of them. In the land administration, for instance, this means whether titles are being issued effectively and efficiently, whether records are credible and accessible, whether the planning supports the orderly development so that we don't have instances where buildings just fall off, and whether settlement programs reach those who are intended and not the people who are not intended. So this speaks to the public experience on whether these land policies are being done in a fair, timely, and in a transparent and efficient manner. Taken together, these six functions show that the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service assists in the coordination, it assists in the stewardship and ethical oversight and implementation to ensure that there is effectiveness. And this is done through the lenses of this particular sector so that it is organized, and it is organized in a manner that can be assessed so that while rendering their services, they are lawfully administered and they are done in an efficient and coordinated manner, and they are visible and effective to the entire public service. The second issue that we'll be doing a deep dive is now what is the context of today's webinar vis-a-vis the functions that I've just spoken to. These functions speak directly to this particular engagement because you notice the aspect of administrative leadership speaks to the institutional order and lawful administration. The aspect of coordination of government business speaks to the performance and coherence and execution discipline, whereas the aspect of promotion of ethics and good governance speaks to the constitutional values and principles of service, whereas the aspect of transmission of the directives and circulars speaks to the clarity and consistency of the timelines which are expected to be implemented. And whereas when you look at the aspect of the responsibility and for overall effectiveness speaks to the central question before this engagement, which is whether these institutions within the land sector are functioning in a way that is lawful, in a way that is efficient, transparent, and it speaks to the citizen-centered results, because we should always remember that our number one client as a government is Mwananchi, that taxpayer who visits the land office while they are coming to seek for the services, when they are coming to ask for the searches, when they are coming to ask for evaluation to be done on their property. So it is from this stewardship perspective, colleagues, that this office engages the State Department for Lands and Physical Planning, which of course this State Department mandate has a huge array of mandate that ranges from the national land policy and management, the issue of planning, the issue of property valuation, the issue of the land information system, all the way to what is a novelty, and this is very huge, that I'll speak to the aspect of digitization, national land titling, and the policy reforms that came around in this particular sector. So this is a very central State Department in the architecture of the government, because it sits at a very vantage position as some of the most sensitive and consequential questions of governance. That is the question of ownership, that is the question of tenure of security, that is the question of public land administration, the question of valuation, planning, the key question and controversial as well of settlement, the key question in as regards to development of the country of investment, equity, and dispute resolution. Because land is just not merely a factor in Kenya, but it is also a constitutional, it's also an historical issue and a social issue in the same context. That is why this sector is one of the clearest areas where citizens judge government in terms of delivery of its particular mandate, because they'll be judged whether the same was done lawful and in an efficient, transparent, and in a way that is capable of producing a visible public service. So, colleagues, what we are saying is that when land records are orderly, when transactions are transparent and they're accessible, when planning is done in a very coherent manner, when settlement issues are addressed in a fair, citizens see government to be working. When these things fall in place, citizens will be content, because we are operating in a space where citizens are doubtful. Citizens do not trust the government, and that is why this culminated into issues like the maandamano that we've been experiencing in the recent past, because the citizens are not content with the services being rendered to them, and these services need to be rendered in a way that is now I'll now delve into the three thematic areas for this morning's conversation. And the first thematic area is the implementation of the constitutional values and principles of the public service, and the legal requirements that pertains within this sector of land. So this sector speaks into the what are the dictates of the constitution and all the enabling legislation and regulations that originated from Bunge. And when you look at this sector in generality, it has a constitutional character. It is heavily reliant on what the law says. And the reason we are saying this, colleagues, is when you go and check Article 60 of the Constitution, it sets out the principles of the land policy. And these principles includes the equitable access to land. It speaks to the issue of the security of land rights, sustainable and productive management of the land resources, transparent and cost-effective administration of land, the expectation that the government will develop sound conservation and protection ecological areas, which eliminates gender discrimination, because you notice that these practices are related to land and property, and it's an encouragement of communities to settle the land disputes through the recognized alternative and that is the ADR, alternative dispute resolutions that are available, but this should be done within the context of law. When you go down to Article 61, it provides it provides that land rather belongs to the people of Kenya, and it is owned collectively as a nation and communities as individuals. And there are different tenures which the Constitution has provided on land ownership. And I'm sure my colleagues from the State Departments will now do a deep dive on that particular aspect. When you go further under Article 67, it establishes the National Land Commission. And at the same time, Article 10 binds the public institutions to the national values and principles, which expects that whatever we do shall be done within the rule of law. It shall be done with a lot of integrity, accountability, and transparency. This tied together with Article 232, which requires that while we are performing while we are rendering our service to the public service, the same should be done to the highest attainable standards, should be done in an efficient manner and in an economic way when we are when you're utilizing the resources that again comes from Mwananchi. Again, when you go to the Constitution and Article 47, it requires that administrative action should be done in an expeditious, efficient, lawful, and reasonable, and the same should be done in a very productive way. Now, these constitutional dictates and duties are enforced by statutes that are relevant to the land sector. That is where you find the intersection with the Land Registration Act, which provides for the framework for registration of the land interest. You get the National Land Commission Act, which gives the constitutional mandate to the commission, that is the National Land Commission when it comes to the management of the land, and the Physical and Land Use Planning Act, which provides the legal framework in which land use and regulations is developed and the control of the same is done. This means that the State Department must not only hold its mandate as provided in law, it must also exercise this mandate in a way that is lawful, as I've said, in a way that is transparent, accountable, and in a manner that it visibly the constitutional values. On the second thematic areas, that is the improvement of the performance and efficiency to optimal levels. This second thematic area speaks to the aspect of the improvement of the performance generally within the public service. Here we pose a central question as to whether the law, because we've seen the law is quite comprehensive, both from the constitution to the statutes, the policy and the institutional mandate and public resources are being translated into a measurable land governance results. These key performance indicators, colleagues, in this sector is seen as when the State Department is undertaking its role, and I've stated the role that speaks into the security of tenure, issuing of titles, all the way to the aspect on when we are handling the disputes, and when we are addressing the most critical aspects of the bottlenecks when it comes to the land administration. So efficiency, colleagues, is seen in the coordination across the institution, across the different discipline, across the proper use of this public resource, and as well when it comes to the decentralization of these services, and if the same is done in a timely resolution of the challenges that the citizens are facing. So this when you go to the State Department's service charter, which is available to the public, you notice that it underscores the orientation of setting out a citizen-facing commitments and service timelines. This is very commendable because you've put out a promise, you've put out an indicator that you can be judged upon, that when delivering your services as a State Department, it is done in a way that it provides for the citizen, which acknowledges the role of the citizens. And when you even check the State Department's 2026 budget policy statements, it reports that the land management in this sector has been able to have tremendous achievement, with over 1.2 million title deeds issued, with about 33,000 households having been settled. This includes squatters and the landless individuals. And the State Department has been able to process more than 10,000 allotment letters. It also sets a medium-term target, which includes the issuance of the 1.3 million title deeds and the resolution of the 6,000 land disputes which exist across the country. These figures shows that there is efficiency in the State Department, and this needs to be amplified so that the citizens are aware that this is what is being done and this is the expectation that is out there. So with further measures being put in place, the expectation is that there'll be a faster and cleaner transactions, which would secure more tenure, would secure more accessible services, and which would have a stronger planning systems with better valuations and better framework, which would in turn come with the reduction of disputes. Because, colleagues, you note from now a litigation perspective, one of the most litigated a phenomenon or sector is the land sector. When you go to the Environment and Land Court in our judiciary, that is where the most number of cases, and it's the germane issue why these matters are in court it appertains to the root cause of the title, it appertains to the disputes, so that there are other disputes that can be able to be remedied at the level of the State Department before it is escalated to the judiciary. Because you notice when the matters have been taken to the judiciary, the people with money would have a big advantage even over someone who has a legitimate claim to the ownership of the title. Now, go to the next slide. Now, this administration has clearly set out its target to transforming, the next slide, please, transforming Kenya into Singapore within our generation. And when the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service would be giving his keynote address, a lot of emphasis, you'll notice, will be put on it. And why are we saying this? When we are giving the aspiration to the journey to Singapore, for those of us who have knowledge in IT, I wish to make reference to the aspect of hardware and software. All of us seated in our different places, the gadget that we are using, be it a tablet, be it a phone, be it a computer, what you can touch and feel is what we consider to be the hardware, or what the IT people define to be the hardware. But what enables you to see the presentation that speaks to Singapore aspiration and Ardhi, that is the software. What makes you be able to hear my voice is the software. So in our journey to Singapore, while the president is working hard to fix the hardware, that is the brick and mortar, when the president is fixing the issues that were promised under the better plan, that is affordable housing, universal healthcare, the issues of digitization, the issues of markets, that is the president fixing the hardware. The Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service, in turn, comes in to ensure that there are over 1 million civil servants, the over 1 million workforce, who in turn have an interface with the public. Those are the ones that are fixing the software. So there needs to be a marriage between the hardware and the software. And that is why the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service has taken the initiative of addressing all of us while fixing this issue of the software. Because you notice, you might as well fix the software and fail to fix the hardware. All of them require each other for us to be able to achieve this journey to Singapore. So the hardware is equally as important as the software. So while we are rendering our services to Mwananchi, while we are meeting the Mwananchi on a day-to-day, that is the aspect of fixing the software. So that you notice that when transforming this country in our generation, we are expected to build institutions that are orderly, institutions that are efficient, institutions that are transparent. And in the land sector, we wish to applaud all of us from that particular sector, because the aspiration is reflected in the reform. And the good example is the Ardhi, which has moved land administration from the manual and fragmented system to a faster and more efficient, digitally enabled service, that is the Ardhi. But it is a continued issuance of the title deeds to the public that should also be a measure as we are working to the journey towards Singapore. The National Land Value Index is also a transformational thing that speaks to the journey towards Singapore, which has supported the great order and consistency and predictability in the valuation system. So in this context, the journey to Singapore means making land governance cleaner, quicker, and more transparent and reliable to the citizens, investors, and all the community as large. When you go to the last slide, that is the last thematic area of provision of premier services to the public in a manner that is quantitative, in a manner that is qualitative, and in a timely manner. This sector may not always be described as a conventional service delivery terms, but now it must be, because you notice the citizens encounter this State Department when they seek title deeds, when they are doing their official searches, when they are doing transfer of their property, when they're asking for the cadastral information, when they're asking for the valuation adjudication, up to the settlement and planning, and general access to records when they need clarity. But I'm sure Ardhi has been able to address most of these challenges. So investors as well encounter this when the transaction must be completed with certainty, and when counties do the fiscal planning to it. And when you check the service charter that I alluded to earlier, the State Department Service Charter gives a practical meaning to it because it commits, among other things, that registration of title deeds and related agreements shall be done within 3 days. Approvals of subdivision and amalgamation, you've made a promise that the same are going to be done within 2 days. The lease processing is going to be done within 5 days, and asset valuation is going to be done within 21 days. And importantly as well, when citizens have a problem and they need to call the State Department through the available channels, that the phone calls are going to be received within 15 seconds. These commitments show that the land sector has addressed the common mwananchi issue where they encounter with all of you. So, colleagues, when this perspective provides that the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service provides a key role in ensuring that we have one public service system, a public system that ensures we have a whole of government approach in terms of the coordination, in terms of stewardship, and in terms of the overall effectiveness of the entire sector. So what are we saying in conclusion? Going to the last slide, that this engagement is important because it reminds us that land governance is not only about titles, it's not only about planning, it's not only about administration, but it's also about the public service. It's also about the mwananchi. It's about whether the institutions, while undertaking their lawful mandate, it's the same is done in an ethical conduct, the same is done in an efficient manner and in a coordinated manner. So that this standard against which the sector must increasingly be measured as from the perspective of the needs of mwananchi, because at the heart of land governance is public trust, and public trust is earned when institutions are lawful, efficient, and transparent and visible while undertaking its mandate. Thank you very much. We look forward to a very fruitful engagement in the course of the morning. My name is Collins Kiprono, Secretary Legal Affairs at the Office of the Chief of Staff and the Head of Public Service. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Collins, for those very, very insightful comments and remarks that you have made in relation to the subject matter for today, the reason why we're here together. Let us remember that the theme that we have for this meeting is our collective responsibility as public officers in implementing the constitutional values and principles of public service, as well as improving performance and efficiency to optimal levels, and also providing premier services to the public qualitatively, quantitatively, and in a timeous manner. At this point, I just want to be able to address something that has been asked on the question and answer. Please note that the pictures or the photos of yourselves, whether by yourself or whether in groups as you're seated, that we've requested are not mandatory. This is if you wish to share them, please do on the number that you are given, which is 0722 229 229, and I repeat 0722 229 229, and it is not mandatory. Do so if you wish to. Then I also want to remind you that you can be able to follow the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service on his social media pages. That is Felix Koskei, Koskei, and that is on Facebook, X, and TikTok. And then also on YouTube, you can be able to follow him and be able to see the videos that are uploaded on his page under the title Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service on the YouTube channel. Now, at this point, I wish to be able to call upon one of our speakers from the State Department of Lands and Physical Planning, Madam Sarah Minor, who will be making a presentation together with Mr. Caxton Manzi with regard to the State Department for Lands and Physical Planning. So welcome, Madam Sarah and Mr. Caxton. Thank you.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I believe you can hear me. My name is Sarah Minor, Secretary Lands. I'm here with my colleague, Caxton Manzi from the Planning Department. We are going to do the presentation jointly, And our presentation will be on the mandate of the State Department, the key milestones that we've made, the challenges to service delivery, and the recommendations to enable us to work better. So I will start, and then Caxton will take us through the key service delivery. So in way of introduction of our State Department, where do we get our mandate? We get our mandate first from the Executive Order number 1 of 2023, and it lists our mandate. And apart from that, almost all our technical departments are implementing an Act of Parliament. And we have the Act of Parliament and the regulations there too. So that is where we get our mandate. I will not read through our mandates. You can see them on your screen. Allow me just to highlight a few. On land transactions, entitling, on survey and mapping, land adjudication, national spatial infrastructure and national information management system, land property valuation and administration services. Those are the services we serve Kenyans across the country. And apart from having them in the Executive number 1 of 2025, we also have them in the various acts of parliaments. That is the Land Registration Act, the Survey Act, the Land Act, and especially the Constitution of Kenya, Chapter 5 on land and environment. So I urge all of us, whenever we do our services, let's look at what the law provides and make sure we do it according to the letter and spirit of the Constitution and the law of the land. So what are the areas of strategic focus for the State Department? Currently, we are focusing on title deed issuance, land registries digitization, National Land Value Index developed, land parcel georeferencing, National Spatial Plan implementation, revenue collection, legal and policy framework strengthening, land services decentralization, and project implementation. So those are the areas we are focusing currently. I'm going to allow Mr. Caxton to take us through the key service delivery milestones. What are we signed to achieve this financial year, and how far are we in achieving what we signed to do this financial year? Welcome, Caxton.
Thank you so much. I will continue from where my colleague has stopped. Now, on the key service delivery milestones, I will start with the registration and the issuance of the title deed. And now, the issuance and the title deeds guarantees security of land tenure and land rights to all the land owners. In the last financial year, we were able to process and issue 436,212 title deeds across all the landowners across the country. This financial year, we are targeting to issue 450 title deeds across the country. 450,000 title deeds across the country in this financial year. And as at the end of the third quarter, we had issued 190,700 title deeds across the country. On the number 2, on the digitization of land records and the processes, this enhances the public access to information and ease of doing business. Now, in the last financial year, we were able to digitize Mombasa Island and Isiolo. We are also able to scan all our land records for Mombasa mainland, Marsabit, and the information was scanned and stored in the EDMS. And also the digitization in Baringo, Machakos, and Kajiado South is ongoing. On the other issue is on the issue to do with the settlement of landless. And the settlement of landless guarantees security of land tenure, land rights, and also improve the livelihoods of squatters. In the last financial year, we were able to settle 13,270 landless households across the various counties in the country. And this financial year, we are targeting 414,000 landless squatters to be settled And so far, in the last, as at the end of that quarter, we were able to settle 5,721 landless households. We are also in the process of acquiring the 11,000 acres of land for Kendong Raj in Naivasha for settlement of landless. We are also targeting to prepare the National Land Value Index for the country, and this will guide the compensation for infrastructure projects, guide the investment, and also curb speculations on land. So far, we have able to prepare land value index for the 30 counties, where Migori, Lamu, and Omambi counties were covered in the last financial year. This financial year, we are in the process of preparing the land value index in Laikipia, Nyeri, Tharaka Nithi, and Kitui counties. Also, for the State Department, we are targeting to geographize land parcels, and this entails assigning the precise geographical coordinates to the land parcels to accurately locate them on map, and this minimizes the disputes. It also avoids the overlaps and also supports the land registration. In the last financial year, we were able to geographize 447,702 land parcels to produce cadastre maps and plans. This financial year, we are targeting to geographize over 250,000 land parcels, where by the end of December last year, we were able to do 11,107. We are also targeting to survey 10,000 sectional property units across the country. And by the end of December last year, we were able to do 7,218. On the implementation of the National Special Plan, the last financial year, we were able to prepare the fiscal and land use development plans in Muranga, in Kitui, Industrial Park, and also Takwel, Laikima corridor in the last financial year. In this financial year, we were able to prepare for Vipigo Master Plan. We are able to prepare for Kentong settlement, that is in Tana River, and the Lichet farmers in the Nandi County. And also the preparations is ongoing for Nasewa and the Suam local fiscal and land use development plans. In the issue to do the revenue collection, the last financial year, we were able to collect over 15 billion in form of the stamp duty, the land rent, and also in the stamp premium, and also in form of NA, we were able to do 3.5 billion. This financial year, we are targeted to do over 20 billion, where at the end of that quarter, we were able to collect 13.185 billion in form of the stamp duty, land rent, and also in the form of the stamp premium. We are also able to collect 2.186 billion in form of the ANA. And in addition to that, we have fully rolled out the cashless payment system, that is AdPay, in all land registries to support in the collection of the land revenue. The other achievement include for the State Department, the State Department was ranked the best performing institution in the public service compliance with Article 10 and 232 values and principles in the last financial year. We also continue to digitalize our land services across the country, where we are targeting, where Mogotio, Olkalau, Gilgil, and also Ngucha is ongoing. We have also translated our service charter into Braille and also provided for the sign language and also the audio recording, which also can be accessed in our website. So I will hand over to Madam Sarah to continue to give us the constraints and also the recommendation to address the constraint. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Caxton. Allow me to look at the challenges you are facing as a State Department and how it's affecting our service delivery. And the first one I will dare say is the budgetary constraint. And due to budgetary constraint, we've had to scale down our procurement plan to essential items and maintenance of ongoing contracts. And that has affected us greatly. On staff, we are working below capacity. We are not able to recruit officers across the departments to ensure that we are working on full capacity. Secondly, how is it affecting us? On construction of land registries. As a State Department, we have presence across the country. And the Constitution says that each state organ should decentralize their services closer to the people. And as we speak, we have 21 land registries which have been gazetted and are not operational because we are not able to construct registries. A case example is Turkana Land Registry. Someone in Turkana has to travel to West Pokot to do a search. Look at Oloitoktok. Someone from Oloitoktok has to travel to Nairobi, take another vehicle to Kajiado Central to do a search or to register a land parcel. So we really need budgetary enhancement to enable us construct these 21 registries. And one registry to construct to full capacity requires around 130 million. Another aspect that is affected greatly is on clearing of the court awards. We have a pending bill of 13 billion in terms of court awards that we are not able to pay. And we have outstanding payments to the government printer amounting to 170 million. Government printer is so important to us as State Department because most of our documents are legal instruments and have to be printed by the government printer. And sometimes we have to go and beg the government printer to print for us title deeds, even as we await to clear this bill of 170 million. Lack of furniture and equipment. A visit to our field stations will show the dire need for furniture and equipment for our officers. If we do not get enough funds to get the racks, the parcel files, and the binders, our officers in the field stations are not able to file the instruments for land registration. And more often than not, an officer will be accused of declining to issue an instrument that was registered, for example, in 1980 to the court, not because that officer has refused, but because they cannot go through the stack of documents in boxes and sacks to obtain that document that was registered in 1989. So we are in dire need for funds to make sure that officers have enough racks, have enough parcel files and binders together with the filing space. And finally, on low budget, I can say it's really affecting our service delivery because we do not have enough vehicles. Currently, we've leased 108 vehicles out of the capacity of 140 vehicles. And allow me to use Kakamega Registry as an example. Kakamega Registry has 15 land control boards. The Department of Land Registration is in charge of doing boundary disputes together with the Department of Survey. The land officer must attend these 15 land control boards, each one of them one per month. Whereas the officer who is in charge of settlement is also required to visit the settlers in the field, especially currently we've gazetted that the president has been so kind enough and has given a waiver of penalties on loans on settlement. So the settlement officer is also required to go to the field, meet the settlers and inform them of this information. These 4 departments are sharing one vehicle. So it's really difficult for officers in the field station to enhance service delivery when they are not able to move. So we really need to get enough funds to enhance leasing of vehicles to enable our officers to serve Kenyans better. Another challenge we are facing is low adoption of the digital systems across the country. We lack public awareness on Ardhi. We find that all our payments now are being done on the online platform on Ardhi Pay. But the Kenyans, we are not able to go down and inform our public that we are currently on the online system. And I'll use the case example of Dagoretti. Dagoretti is in Nairobi County. They are required to operate on Ardhi. Dagoretti is an area where we have the old Kenyans, the Wanjiku as it were. We are not able to reach them and advise them on how they can register on Ardhi and be able to benefit from the online platform. So we really require funds to be able to do that. Another challenge we face as a State Department is a high number of litigation. So we spend most of our time in courts, and also we spend most of our funds in paying compensation. And then another challenge is on policy and legal constraint. We have currently the land policy was required to be reviewed in 2019. We've done some work with it, but because of budgetary constraint, we've not been able to finalize the exercise by doing public awareness to pick the views of the public before we can forward the document to Parliament. And we also have laws that were undergoing review before the Gen Z protest, and we've not been able to move forwards. And they are so important because they are affecting our service delivery and especially our movement to the digital platform. As we are digital, our laws are still speaking to the manual environment. So those are the challenges we are facing as a State Department. And here are the recommendations. We request enhancements of our budget. We request enough funds to be able to automate and our land processes and transactions. We request training of staff with necessary skills and competencies. And we request continuous capacity building. We've been able to do capacity building on a slow rate, but we need to be able to reach each and every officer across the country. My officer in Busia now is expected to register sectional properties because we have the program by our president on affordable housing going on in Busia. But the question is this officer conversant with Sectional Properties Act? And apart from the land registrar, the surveyor, the valuer, and also the land officer, there's a role they play in that process. So this is a new law that we need to cascade down to officers through more trainings. So, and also we need training on alternative dispute resolution because we do a lot of dispute resolution in the field. So we need to ensure that officers train in this field, and also fast track legislative land reforms. And I urge all of our officers, these are the challenges, but I know there's something we can do on where we are. So I urge all of us to make sure that we improve service delivery. Let's work with what we have to serve Kenyans faster, transparently, and be a public servant, as it were. We are civil servants. We are not civil workers. So let's be civil servants as described in our mandate. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, together with your colleague, Mr. Caxton, for that presentation that highlights or brings to life the daily challenges that you encounter within the lands offices around the country and the kind of facilitation or assistance that you require to be able to carry out your work effectively. At this point, I want to remind you that we shall be sending all the material from this engagement, that is the speeches that will be made. We'll be sending out this recording. We'll also be sending out the presentations that have been made to you at the email addresses on which you have registered. If you're in this forum, therefore, and you have not registered on the Google platform, you need to go and do so that when we send out this material, you're able to receive it directly in your inbox. At this point, I want to welcome my colleague, Mr. Duncan Kishamu from the Office of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, to come and make his presentation on the audit, on audit issues. And as he does so, I will then be handing over to my co-moderator, who will come in immediately after Duncan has made his presentation. Thank you and welcome.
Thank you very much, Daktari, and the rest of the team. So the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, allow me to give the highlights of the Zero Fault Audit campaign, which is a campaign that your office started in the financial year that ended financial year 2022-2023. And along the journey, along the years, there has been quite a number of significant achievements that have been achieved through this process. Participants, the Zero Fault Audit campaign is really a campaign that required all of us to ensure that we manage our resources in a manner that is prudent, efficient, effective, and one that ensures that all public resources that are given to us as public entities are utilized properly. From the onset, let me remind you that all these materials, all the documentation, and all the literature that concerns this zero-fault audit campaign that is being driven by the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service is available on the website of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service. So for those of us who perhaps are not well versed with this campaign, I will urge you to take a moment and visit the website, and you'll be able to see all these materials. So this campaign, the zero-fault audit campaign, is responding to what actually the Article 201 of our Constitution says. And this one is to ensure that we have prudent and responsible use of public resources. We are required at all times to ensure that each and every resource allocated to us is used prudently and responsibly. When the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service launched this campaign, he required each and every one of us to ensure that we adopt that proactive approach to achieving full compliance rather than remaining reactive. It's a process that requires us to always anticipate what is coming in the future and taking deliberate action to prevent our institutions from finding themselves on the red by not by adhering to certain provisions that are either in the Public Finance Management Act and its attendant regulations. This campaign is anchored on accountability, transparency, and continuous improvement. And you will note over the years, several entities that have been part of this campaign have been slowly but steadily improving their audit performance. So when you started at a bad position in the financial year 2020, that ended 2023, by now you should have ensured that your audit status has greatly improved. Then it aims to achieve clean audit opinions. Colleagues and participants, how can you ensure that you are compliant with this campaign? And the first thing is to make sure that you do not attract a single audit query from the Office of the Auditor General. And how can you do that? By always ensuring that you are compliant with all existing laws and regulations. Zero-fault audit campaign is all about compliance. It is all about doing our things, our processes, and our procedures in a manner that ensures no law, no circulars, no regulations, no policies or procedure at every level is ignored, but rather you make sure that you adhere to each and every one of them. Then, as I've said, it's a continuous improvement program, such that when you find yourselves at this particular stage, when you start, by end of several years after being part of this campaign, you should show and demonstrate that you have indeed improved the way that you are performing. Now, some of the common areas that prevent many institutions within the public service from attracting clean audit reports from the external auditor are things that are simple and things that each and every staff within an organization can contribute to improving. For example, issues to do with weak documentation, issues to do with delayed responses to audit queries, issues to do with non-compliance with procurement laws, issues to do with unsupported expenditures, and weak internal controls. These are things that if we set our minds right, if we put proper controls within our organizations, then we will be able to ensure that we are not being flagged off for not being compliant with this zero-fault audit campaign. Allow me to remind you some of the audit opinions that are normally issued by the external auditor. These are 4 audit opinions. We have the unqualified audit opinion, the qualified opinion, the adverse opinion, and then the disclaimer of opinion. Participants, the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service is always encouraging us and requiring us that we should move ourselves and ensure that we attract unqualified audit opinion. And this is an indicator that our financial statements present a true and fair view and are complying with all financial regulations. So this also shows that we have strong financial management and we are being compliant with all the laws, the policy, and the requirements of the Public Finance Management Act and its attendant regulation. I looked through the performance of the different state the different agencies and institutions within the State Department for Lands. And I can note that at least a majority of us, none of our institution is currently in the adverse or the disclaimer and even qualified opinion. Most of us are trending around the unqualified opinion, which is a good trend that we should be encouraged, and we should at all times ensure that we maintain the same. So what do we need to ensure that we always remain compliant with this campaign of ensuring that we have zero-fault audit status? The first one, as I've said earlier, is to establish robust internal control system across all our functions. Starting from the State Department all the way to the different institutions. Make sure that you have strong internal control system, because through the journey, through the process, the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service has realized that it is these internal control systems that will make us be in a position of ensuring that we prevent ourselves from attracting bad audit queries from the external audit. But then most importantly is also to focus our energies on the reports that are given by the internal audit function. The Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service has been very instrumental in ensuring that we are able to revitalize and to re-energize our internal audit function. And his view, his thought, and his strategic aim is to have a very strong internal audit function that will be able at all times to ensure that they point us to the right direction in terms of raising queries in the quarterly audit reports that they are producing, and helping us as institutions to work on those queries and to implement audit recommendations such that by the time the external auditor comes to our institutions, they will find that most of these issues have been addressed even before they come. Then we also require to ensure proper documentation and record keeping at all times. This ones you have mentioned again because one of the issues that is always flagged is the lack of proper documentation. The Auditor General cannot satisfy himself on a particular matter, and therefore he is not able to render his opinion because no proper documentation was prepared. So we need to ensure that at all times the documentation we give are appropriate and are properly documented. Then we need to conduct regular internal audits and risk assessment, and these ones will be able to do that if you have already revitalized and re-energized our internal audit function. They should be able to help us conduct these regular internal audits and risk assessment. We are also required to build the staff capacity on compliance and audit procedures. Participants, the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service has consistently built the capacity of different staff across all levels, ensuring that he reminds them of the importance of these audit issues. So again, as institutions, as a State Department, we should not leave it there, but we should pick it up and encourage and sensitize all our employees that at every time they should know what these audit queries mean and what is their implication on our financial statements generally. The view of the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service has always been that when systems are strong and preparation is constant, then audit process and audits will become just confirmations and not investigations. Again, I've mentioned the issue of ensuring that we have proper risk management plans and for the State Department and affiliated public institutions, then ensuring that we respond timely and accurately to issues that are raised, maintaining clear audit trails and supporting documentation. And then within our institutions, within the State Department, within the different institutions that fall under the State Department, we must have clear audit trails and supporting documentation, and then assign responsibility for tracking and resolving audit issues, such that whenever these issues are picked in an audit report, we should have someone whose responsibility is just to ensure that he or she tracks and ensures that where audit recommendations were given, each and every recommendation is implemented, and where an auditor has raised a query over a certain matter, then those queries are resolved on time. Then we must always use our past audit performance, our past audit queries to improve our systems and prevent recurrence. When these reports are given by the external auditor and also by our internal audit teams, we should not just dismiss them, but rather we should take them, keenly look at the issues that they are raising, and then use the same areas, the identified risky areas, try and as much as possible to improve the same. This one will addressing Auditor General, the external one requires again systematic review and analysis of the reports, then developing implementing corrective plans, then have clear timelines. Whenever an audit recommendation is given, please provide clear timelines on when you are planning to resolve these issues and be accountable for implementing the same audit recommendations. You should also monitor progress through the audit committees, whether it's the ministerial audit committees, whether it's the public finance management standing committees at the institutions level. Please let these committees monitor the progress of implementing the audit recommendations and following up and tracking on the closing or rather resolution of audit queries that they have been raised. One thing that the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service has also sensitized many members of the public, and also staffers within the public service whenever he engages is that each and every staff member has a role when it comes to ensuring that our institutions attract clean audit reports, starting from the top, where the tone at the top is set and the standards of accountability are provided, all the way down. So the Principal Secretary for the State Department has a role. All the heads of department have a role. All the middle level management and any other staff within an organization has a role. This is because audit outcomes are shaped by our daily actions. It's the daily actions of every staff member that contributes to whether our institution will ultimately get a clean or bad audit report. So if I'm a staffer, if I'm a driver, if I'm a receptionist, or even a guard, I should know that my actions on a daily basis will determine whether my institutions will ultimately attract a clean audit report or whether a negative audit report, a bad audit report will be given to us. In the past, before this campaign was rolled out by the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service, the assumption perhaps was that these matters to do with audit rested on finance officers and accounting officers. But over the years, the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service has been debunking that narrative and telling us that it is not the responsibility alone of the accounting officers and the finance officers, but rather for every officer within our institution. So every staff member should ensure that they also participate in accurate record keeping, because this is an individual responsibility. Keeping of records is something that each and every individual should be sensitized on and be encouraged to do on a daily basis, so that when these records are required at any part during the audit cycle, we are able to sufficiently provide them and then enable the audit process to move smoothly. Then internal controls are effective only when consistently applied by all. Earlier, we have said that for us to achieve this zero-fault audit status, one critical thing we need to do is to establish strong internal controls. But apart from establishing and operationalizing this strong internal control system within our organizations, it is critical to ensure that these are consistently applied by all, because if one person bypasses these internal controls, then we will defeat the entire purpose of ensuring that our institutions have clean audit reports. Then risks originate at operational level where staff work directly. So that is why it's important for every staff member to be considered and also to perform their role for our institutions to attract clean audit reports. Compliance is a shared responsibility, not limited to audit and finance team. We have said that. And then collective effort ensures accountability and eliminates surprises. Again, we are always encouraged that when it comes to audit matters, we should never be caught unaware. We should never be surprised. We should always be ready. And this is why in every sensitization, we always remind ourselves to be prepared. Audit readiness, preparedness. That is what we are encouraged to do. So in conclusion, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to ensure that we have continuous implementation of audit recommendations. That one you have said. Then always remember that this campaign targets the prudent, responsible, transparent, and effective use and management of public resources. And these resources are not only finance resources, whether it's land resources, whether it's a human resource, etc. We must utilize these resources in that manner. And we earlier looked at the article of the Constitution that speaks to prudency in the use of public resources. Then it also requires proactive management of risks, which minimizes surprises and promotes at potential findings. And that we've said is the revitalization and energization of the role of the internal auditor. And lastly, development and implementation of procedures, processes, and systems. In fact, the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service is always reminding us that for any institution to work properly, then we must always ensure that our procedures, our processes, and our systems are accurate. As I conclude, allow me also to mention a certain concern, or rather a certain finding that has always been, especially from the State Department. They are not able to resolve amongst themselves to escalate those issues to his office. At times, he also tells them to also anticipate. If you anticipate that your institutions will fail, or rather you will be given an adverse or a bad audit opinion because of an issue, please raise that issue for escalation. Escalate that issue to our office for assistance. And one issue that has consistently been referred to his office is that issue of lack of land ownership documents. And I believe it's the State Department for Lands and Planning that should at least assist all these other public entities whenever they come to you, whenever we forward their cases to you, because one of the consistent prior and outstanding audit query in many of the institutions is the lack of proper land ownership documents, the titles, etc. So please also take it upon yourself as a role to be facilitative and assist many of these institutions to have their proper land ownership documents, and will not only be assisting the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service in ensuring that ZFA is attained across all public entities, but rather you'll also be promoting the effective use and management of public resources. Thank you very much. And on that, I now invite the next moderator to take over. Thank you very much.
Thank you for helping us understand the issues of audits. And let me remind participants. Allow me to remind the participants that the question and answer button is working. Your directors are the panelists, so I know you have questions. Feel free to ask questions. Below your screen, you see a Q&A part. So just click on that button, type in your question, and it will be answered. At this moment now, we want to go to the remarks from various representatives. So allow me to call Madam Flores Amoit, our Secretary Administration, to make remarks. Welcome, Madam.
Thank you very much, our moderator, and I'm happy to be back again to make remarks related to the support services function. As you all aware, is that the support services facilitate the technical services to deliver effectively and efficiently on the mandate of the State Department. Allow me to highlight some of the how we facilitate the technical departments, including in the HR matters. Yeah, we are, as a sector, a decentralized sector, our presence is in 83 field offices and 65 being land registries. And we are also a public facing entity. And therefore, we have a staff complement of 2,605 right from the headquarters and spread across the field offices. And the distribution is compliant with the 70-30 requirement. We have 1765 technical cadre and 837 support functions. I know we are below our establishment, which is 5272, but we continually recruit when we have funds. For example, in the last 2 years, we have recruited an additional of 199 technical officers to take care of the vacancies that occur due to natural attrition. We also undertake training, especially in the emerging area, to support in the recent past to support RDP function. We have trained officers to equip them with skills, e.g. on valuation and assessment on RDP. And we also embrace succession management. We have promoted 816 officers in the last 2 years. In terms of work environment, various speakers have alluded to the fact that this sector is a sensitive sector. So it is our role to ensure there's adequate security in our offices and there is a conducive work environment. Most of our offices in the field are located within the administrative headquarters of at the county and sub-county level. So we leverage the security arrangement at that level provided by the Critical Infrastructure Protection Unit. And where these offices exist in isolation, we have contracted private guards to take care of the security aspects. In terms of ensuring that our staff are working in a conducive environment, we know we have challenges of furniture and other equipments, but we are trying. Currently, we are constructing a few offices and renovating others, other selected stations. In terms of transport, as my colleague had earlier indicated, we have a total of 108 vehicles serving the headquarters and the field, but they are not enough due to the opening up of new offices and also demand to field activities, including attending to disputes and so forth. Sir, I want to look at constitutional values and principles. It is also our duty to ensure that this happens in the State Department. I want to report that we are doing very well. In the last 2 years, we have been ranked top by the Directorate of National Cohesion and Values and Public Commission in implementation of Article 10 and Article 232. So we are doing very well in that area. We have also managed in leveraging ICT to onboard all our 125 services on eCitizen portal, thereby improving service delivery and accessibility, and we are focused to improve further. On budget, we are glad to report that we were able to secure, negotiate and secure funding under ANA, which has reduced our reliance on Exchequer, and it's able to support one of our critical areas like titling without much constraint. We have also managed to secure partnership with the World Bank, and this will help us to unlock the digitization project, which is meant to strengthen governance of revenue ecosystem, which is going to enhance revenue collection and reduction of privileges. Last but not least, I want to note that in terms of zero-fault audit, we have been able to get clean report for the last consecutive years because of good governance oversight structures, including the Ministerial Audit Committee, the PFM Standing Committee, and the BIC Committee. Thank you very much, and thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Madam Florence. I've given you an extra minute because you had a lot to say. So allow me first, before I invite our next commentator, someone to give comments, to recognize the groups logged in. And we see you, Kwale Land Registry, we've seen you, you logged in as a group. Samburu Land Adjudication and Settlement, we see you. Please send us a picture, that's lovely. Kisii Land Registry, the 16 of you, we see you logged in. Faibatech Lands Office in Ravine, we see you. Meru Land Registry, 18 of you, we see you logged in, please take a picture. And Team Ardhi at GDC Central Registry, Nairobi Registry, we see all of you. The NLIMS team, I see you. Thank you very much for the picture. So allow me then to invite the next officer to make comments, and I'm going to invite Byron Onditi from NLIMS to make comments. And Byron, please, 3 minutes. Karibu.
Thank you, Sarah. Morning. My name is Marcel Byron, and I will comment on the progress of AdiSasa, AdiPay, and the National Stamp Duty Module and system safeguards for revenue collection. AdiSasa is fully live in Nairobi County. Murang'a County, Isiolo, Marsabit, and Mombasa are currently in active deployment, while Baringo, Machakos, and Kajiado are being digitized this financial year. Land adjudication and settlement module has been developed and will greatly improve the deployment speed of AdiSasa. We have also integrated the National Land Commission, and this has been done and will enable secure end-to-end transaction across these two agencies. AdiPay has enabled real-time receipting, automatic reconciliation, and no cash is accepted in any of our registries. The National Stamp Duty Module has extended this digital processing of stamp duty assessment and provision of verifiable valuation certification, which is being done nationwide. So far, we have processed approximately 20,000 applications. And since December 2025, we have already collected through this NSDM system a total of 2.83 billion shillings. Through these initiatives, revenue impact has been significantly improved with a growth of over 21 times, starting from 882 million in 2021-2022 financial year and to 19.1 billion in 2024-2025 financial year. Underpinning this is a layered control framework. The fees are hard-coded in the system. No application advances without a valid receipt for the payment. The revenue streams, that is the exchequer and ANA, are separate and now fully auditable. On the technical side, the server access is cryptographic key only, and this system is patched automatically. All these applications are logged to a tamper-proof platform. To further improve revenue collection, 3 modules have also been developed and ready for deployment. The first one being the title management module, which is aimed at tracking title issuance digitally. Also digitization of official search, as mentioned by the LS, that searches are becoming a problem to do manually. To complete this digital chain, we have also digitized the Land Control Board consent. And this will give us an end-to-end transaction from LCB application all the way to land registration. Our only challenge is inadequate digitization budget, and this is being addressed through the comments from the previous speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, the Directorate is fully committed to improving the experience in accessing and offering our services to our esteemed citizens. Thank you, and back to you, Madam Ellis.
Thank you. Thank you, Byron. Thank you. From Land and NLIMS Department, you can see he's very passionate about digitization. And with this passion, I'm sure when we get funds, we are going to move very fast. Allow me then to welcome Peter Gaduo from the Survey Department. And Gaduo, you are making comments not just for survey in headquarters, but all surveyors from the field. You have 3 minutes. Please take us through.
Okay. Thank you very much. My name is Peter Gaduo, Deputy Director, Land Survey and Mapping Directorate. I want to appreciate this meeting, which has been organized to be able to review our processes and also to be able to give better services to the public. This is a special meeting, which actually is going to propel and also revitalize our services and also the service delivery to the public. In the Directorate of Land Survey and Mapping, we undertake a critical role in provision of data, which support various activities towards better land administration and land management in this country. As alluded before, the land plays a very pivotal role in the development of this country and also across the board. Therefore, we need to manage and also to administrate our land in a way that it is sustainable and also it's manageable for current generation and even for the future generation. Survey Directorate provide data for purposes of security of tenure in terms of provision of accurate maps, and also it provides accurate map for purposes of registration of sectional title. As you're aware now, we are issuing titles to units and the section or part of a building to be able to manage and administrate our land in a sustainable manner. Again, also we provide data in terms of demarcation, survey, and the maintenance of national and international boundary. This is very critical when it comes to securing our borders for peaceful coexistence with our neighboring countries. And in addition, we also need to undertake what we call a hydrographic survey. This is to provide the data for accurate movement in our oceans and in our waters. This will also improve in terms of communication and also in terms of utilization of the blue economy in terms of provision of accurate nautical maps and also thematic charts. In addition, also the Directorate provides up-to-date and develops topographical maps. These are fundamental data sets which help the country to grow in terms of implementation of mega projects. The road designs, all the planning is based on this topographical data, and it is very important that we keep on updating and also developing new data sets to be able to provide that information to support the development, the national development of our country. In addition, this data provides very critical information when it comes to climate change, climate monitoring, climate mitigation, because it's based on this data that we are able to take preventive measures when it comes to climate monitoring, climate mitigation. In addition, we have also the issues of undertaking the cadastral survey. The cadastral survey, which of course is very critical when it comes to alienation and ownership to land. So in short, this is what basically the Directorate provides, which is very important, which is very critical when it comes to development of this country. Thank you, Madam Land Secretary.
Thank you very much, Peter Gaduo. Thank you, Gaduo. I know 3 minutes is not enough to speak the language of survey, but we appreciate what you've been able to share with us. Allow me then to invite Irene Mutai from the Department of Land Registration. Irene, you have 3 minutes.
Good morning and all protocols observed. My name is Irene Mutai, Deputy Chief Land Registrar from the State Department of Lands and Physical Planning. Madam Land Secretary, as you are aware, our mandate is to protect land and property rights through land registration and issuance of good title, hati safi. We want to affirm as a department that we are committed to offering good service delivery. And our primary focus is to reduce delays, streamline land registration processes, and remove bottlenecks, as well as mainstreaming effectiveness, efficiency, transparency, and accountability among our officers, which aligns very well with the government agenda of being responsive and timely in public service. Sir, our department sits at the intersection of technical departments. On one hand, we have the Department of Physical Planning, Department of Survey, Land Administration, Department of Valuation, and the Department of Land Adjudication and Settlement, which we rely on the data that they process to issue these titles that we issue. On the other hand, we have the business community, the built environment, the real estate, financial lenders, professional bodies, for example, Law Society of Kenya, Institute of Surveyors of Kenya, Kenya Institute of Planners, Estate Valuers, Association of Architects of Kenya, the land control boards who rely on our data to issue the land control board consents. community land management committees, the CLMCs in our community, where our community lands are situated, investors, local and international, partners, World Bank, FAO, Landesa, non-state actors, the NGOs, investigative agencies, the EACC, DCI and police, county governments, MDAs, National Land Commission, we have the judiciary, we have the AGO, DPP, KRA, and BRS. Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Agriculture, Ministry of Education, who rely on us to register the parcels of land where the schools are situated, KWS, Kenya Forest, Kenya, just to name a few. So as we collaborate with these entities, it is our duty and responsibility as a department to facilitate these stakeholders in ensuring that information and data in respect of land and property is clean, is accessible, is correct, is complete, is verifiable and reliable to enable them make accurate and informed decisions. This shall indeed catalyze investment and drive ease of doing business in our country. And so, sir, we are cognizant of this pivotal role that the department plays in guaranteeing security of tenure. And so we want to assure you that we are totally committed and dedicated to the call of duty as public servants. With those few remarks, thank you very much.
Thank you, Irene, from the Land Registration Department. You've affirmed that as a state department, we actually sit at the middle of the land ecosystem. Everyone else, the citizen, the state departments, and even the investors are relying on the records that we hold in the State Department to be able to serve Kenyans in their own capacities. So I'm going to invite the next presenter, who is actually the chair of the Valuers Registration Board, and is equally one of the deputy directors in the evaluation department. So allow me to invite Mr. Ruara to speak for 3 minutes. Welcome, Mr. Ruara.
All right, thank you so much, Sarah. And my name is George Rohara. I wear 2 hats. I'm a deputy director in the Directorate of Lands. I'm also the chairman of the Valuers Registration Board. So my comments will hover around the activities of the board, but I can also make a few comments about valuation. Valuation, as has been mentioned by my colleagues, is basically concerned with revenue generation, essentially stamp duty, land rent, and stamp premium. And that is the core of our valuation directorate within the State Department. Now, as far as the board is concerned, the Valuers Registration Board is mandated to regulate the professional conduct of valuers, both within the public and private sector within the country. We are 9 members, 3 from the public service, with the chairperson included, and 4 from private practice, 1 from the counties, and 1 from the universities, making a total of 9 members, and then the registrar, who's also a public officer. As far as revitalization and re-energization, of our sector, in the land sector, the Valuers Registration Board has been undertaking a series of reforms so that be compliant with the way things are. Among the things that we are doing, we are in the process of procuring the services of a consultant to help us prepare a strategic plan. We have operated for over 30 years, since 1984, without a strategic plan. That's what we are currently doing. We are also cooperating with the Institution of Surveyors of Kenya, as well as the Directorate of Valuation within the ministry, to review the Valuers Act, under which most of our profession is conducted and regulated. As again, that act was enacted in 1984, so it is long overdue for review. Part of also our review and revitalization program, we are also have also undertaken to conduct our audit, our accounts, and I can assure you that we have updated our audit accounts. We are now compliant with the audit requirements up to the year 2024-2025, and by the close of this financial year, we shall also have updated audited accounts. We are also undertaking and through the conduction and the cooperation of the ministry, we have had 2 officers to help us with the procurement matters and also with accounting matters, so that to ensure our records are up to date and accurate. And we continue to undertake those processes, and we continue to review and revitalize our activities. As we wind up, 1 or 2 things that I would like to say. Like I said earlier, we are 9 members, but we have 2 members whose gazettement has not been done. We have gone through the process, but I understand now it is in the office of the head of public service. So we would request kindly that you assist us gazetting the 2 members who are due for gazettement, as well as the registrar, to enable us streamline and operationalize our activities to the future. Thank you very much for giving your ear. Asanteni sana.
Thank you, Mr. Mr. Ruara. You've been able to bring out the evaluation issues. And I would have expected to hear Gaduo plead for review of the Survey Act to be in tandem with the Constitution of Kenya 2010 and the current digital environment, because this is one of the oldest laws we are operating. So as we finalize from our end remarks, I know we had many remarks to say, and the time is not enough. We appreciate the time we've been given, but I want to ensure our colleagues that the question and answer session is still open. Feel free to type in any remark or any question. This will be shared later, because we have so much we want to say about our State Department, and especially the field stations. We want to hear your voice. This is one opportunity we've been given to be heard at the highest office in the land. So please feel free to type in your comments or your remarks or your question and answers. And we assure you that they'll be answered. Even if it's not within the session, they'll be answered much later. And just to summarize, I urge all of us, as we prepare for digitization, please arrange your records. Value us as you value the properties for stamp duty. And kindly be guided by the National Land Value Index. We'll be watching those values you return on the National Stamp Duty module, because currently now we can see from the headquarters what you are doing in the field. So without much ado, allow me to invite the next presenter, who is CPA Duncan Kishamu from the Department of Audit, Legal and Regulatory Compliance. Welcome, Mr. Duncan Kichamu.
Thank you very much. Now, participants, allow us to have a very brief plenary session. Sorry, my camera, I'm trying to sort it.
Then can you mute? Kindly unmute yourself.
Apologies for that, we were sorting the camera. Allow us for the next few minutes to quickly go through the plenary session. And with that, we invite any participant who might have a question or a comment.
So as we wait for Duncan, allow me to acknowledge, I see Machakos Land Registry, you are registered as a group. Welcome, and we appreciate what you're doing. I see Raphael Mwania Mutungi from Kitui Lands Office. Karibu. Diana Mulu from Makueni, we see you. Amy Etich from Survey of Kenya, Bureti. Welcome. Judith Juguna from Yata, we see you. I can see Duncan is ready. Let me exit to allow him come on. Karibu, Duncan.
Thank you very much. Apologies for that. We were trying to sort out the sound issues. In the next few minutes, the Chief of Staff Head of the Public Service will kindly want to hear comments from the participants in this meeting. And with that, we welcome any person who has a comment to please raise up their hands. We will be able to give them an opportunity to give comments. So please, all hands are lowered. We will quickly check to see who has raised their hand and give them that opportunity within a second or within a minute to raise a comment which will also inform the keynote that we'll get from the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service. Thank you. We are looking around for questions. Anyone with a comment, please? Please proceed if you have a question. Anyone else with a question? We're still waiting. Or a comment? For you to be given that opportunity to comment, you kindly just raise up your hand. When you raise up your hand, we'll be able to see you and we'll give you that opportunity to speak. So I'm checking around. So far, there is none who has raised up their hands. Yeah, thank you. I see we have Rogers Kasewa. Please proceed. Rogers, you have the floor. Rogers will be followed by Kevin Namudeche. Kevin, are you ready? Sorry, Rogers Nyahoro. The icon to raise your hand is found at the bottom of your screen. You can see under the React section, there is a place.
Chair, I can proceed.
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you, Chair, for this opportunity and this insightful session. I was just wondering if the public service has had the opportunity to move around some of our offices as close as Kiambu, Ruiru, Machakos, Kajiado. Most of these offices have a dire need for space, and there's no, there are no, I would say, modern facilities whereby officers can give proper service delivery in terms of the office space, in terms of the infrastructure, the enabling environment and enabling facilities. A very good example is just maybe the washrooms. The space is limited. A good example, I would say, like Kajiado, what was constructed to be used in the 1980s or 70s is still what we are having today. So we find that we have very limited space for officers to work and also store their documents. My plea would be for maybe the public service to maybe move around, do some assessment and review. And ultimately what will help us is having a common complex for land offices in one building, in that maybe on the ground floor, we have the registry, first floor, we have the survey, upper floor, maybe we have the department for valuation and planning, maybe adjudication, and maybe we also have a safe archive for most of our documents. That was my concern. Thank you, Chair, for that opportunity, and back to you.
Thank you, Rogers. We'll take two more. One from Kevin Namudeche, and then Azaria Ochieng.
Okay,
Please
thank
proceed.
you. I think I can proceed.
Yes, please.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to ask this question. Kenya Institute of Surveying and Mapping is a critical part of the State Department. However, even in our presentations, it has been kind of overlooked. I'm just interested to find out, is there a way that we can speed up the giving a legal framework for KISI so that even its mandate can be clear in its contribution to the State Department? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kevin. Again, a reminder that the questions you are supposed to raise them at the Q&A section, but this session of the plenary is basically for us to react, especially as regards the theme of this virtual meeting that is being held. So I can see Ahmed Tache, who is also ready. Please.
Ochieng Azaria.
Sorry, Azaria Ochieng.
Yes, I'm a senior lecturer at Kenya Institute of Survey and Mapping. And my question is, I'm also a champion of CBET training. We have reforms which have been taken by the Ministry of Education, especially in TVETs across the country. And there are quite a number of reforms in curriculum, in training, acting learning strategies that are very, very useful to the young trainees. And our college is also a TVET. So what are the strategies that we put in place to ensure that we are not left behind by the reforms that are sweeping the entire TVET sector? Thank you.
Thank you, Azaria. Next is Ahmed Dache. If you are ready, kindly proceed. And for the case of gender sensitive, we will also allow Eunice Mbidhi to also make some comments. Ahmed, if you are ready. Eunice Mbidhi.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Standing on all established protocols, my name is Mbidhi Eunice. Thank you for this opportunity. Number one, I would like to appreciate the initiative by the Office of the Chief of Staff to take us through this meeting. However, for me, I'll be keen on the side of the citizen who we serve on a daily basis. I'll take a case scenario of the land control boards where we sit as land officers, and the function of secretary, offering secretarial duties to the board. There is a lot of lack or minimal awareness, both to the boards and to the clients. So my question would be, what is the ministry or what is the strategy that we should apply currently just to make sure we sensitize mwananchi on what we are doing on matters land, because at times they tend to be so technical and they're being left out on these issues. A current situation is in Subukia, where the rate of land succession is very low. So you'll realize that people keep selling and selling on top of the lack of awareness. You'll realize that when these transactions are done informally, ultimately it impacts how our work is being done. So an initiative has been taken by the Ministry of Interior and the Judiciary just to call barazas to come together and do outer calls for the people whose lands have not been succeeded. And this is running to the 60s, just to come out and bring their documents. So I think if we would introduce land clinics or land barazas where now registries can just go out there, bring information to mwananchi as part of awareness and sensitization, would go a long way so that mwananchi can know what we are doing faster. Thank you. I submit.
Thank you very much, Eunice. Now, perhaps as we bring in the Principal Administrative Secretary, Executive Office of the President, just two reminders. Number one is that the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service always encourages this feedback. So please proceed at the Q&A section and raise those questions. We will endeavor to ensure that all these questions are responded to by the respective State Department, and the same shall be forwarded to you. And then number two, again, the issue about the numbers. Please let us all remain on the call, because now we want to hear from the leadership. Stay until the end. Remember at the beginning of the session, we were told that you are required to be on the call from the start to the end. So please ensure that you remain on the call until when the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service makes his keynote remarks. Thank you very much. I now bring back the moderator, Madam Sarah Maina. Please come back. Who will then welcome the Principal Administrative Secretary in the Executive Office of the President. Madam Sarah Maina, if you are ready.
Thank you very much. I'm back. And everyone you've heard, let's type in our comments. Let's type in our questions. They'll be addressed by management, and they'll be addressed at the highest office of the land. So allow me to take this opportunity to invite Principal Administrative Secretary in the Executive Office of the President, Mr. Arthur Osia, CBS. Karibu mkubwa.
Thank you. Thank you, Sarah. Our chief guest and convener, of course, the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, the PS Lands. Our chief guest, I had an opportunity earlier of grounding the meeting, and of course did bring the meeting to speed on the activities that you, under your leadership, have happened in the last 1 year or so. And of course, the emphasis has been revitalization and re-energization. And we want to ask the officers in attendance that we continue remaining logged in until the end of the session. But for now, our chief guest, I want to ask the PS Lands to make his remarks, and then invite you to address the session. Welcome, General. Next on Corinne.
As the PS comes in, I would just like to bring to the attention of participants within this meeting to remain within the meeting until the end of the meeting, so that you can be able to listen to the PS, as well as listen to the chief guest, who is the Chief of Staff and Head of the Public Service. It's extremely important that you're in this meeting to be able to listen to those two sessions of remarks until the end. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Principal Administrative Secretary. I want first to thank our Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service for convening this meeting, this sectoral engagement. I also want to thank all the presenters that have done their presentation, the presenters led by Sarah Maina, our Land Secretary, and all the officers who have done their presentation. Head of Public Service, welcome to this meeting from the State Department of Lands, and we want to really appreciate this meeting that you've called today. I want to also appreciate the participants who are here, Principal Administrative Secretary, the chairs and the CEOs of the boards that we have, the heads of departments, the directors, and all the staffs who have attended this meeting. This meeting is really important for us, considering that the Head of Public Service and the Chief of Staff is the one that has convened, and so that he can also listen to some of the issues that we have and the proposals that we have as a state department. In a nutshell, Chief of Staff, I think we've been taken through what our mandate is as a state department. As a state department, we have 7 departments. We have the Land Registration Department, which is comprising of the land registrars, who is basically registration of land. We have the physical planning department, which is comprising of the physical planners. As you are aware, the role of the physical planning was devolved to the county government, but we have a mandate as the national government to plan and also to regularize the physical planning. We support the county governments in terms of capacity building, but we have also projects of national interest or national importance. Like we just concluded the railway city, planning of the railway city, the Eldoret city, the Konza is one of them, and such projects that are of national importance that we are dealing with. We have the land administration that is responsible for issuance of the leases, processing of the leases. That is also processing of the land boards in our various sub-counties. We have the valuation department, which is led by the chief valuer, which is providing the valuation services both in the public projects and also in the private capacity. We have the surveying department, which is led by our director of survey. We have the NLIMS, which is our new department that is dealing with the digitization of our land. It's called the National Land Information Management System. We normally refer to our disaster department. We have the settlement department, which is dealing with the adjudication and the settlement. And also the director is also the one in charge of the processing of the community land. And finally, we have an institution within the State Department, Head of Public Service, that is a KISM, the Kenya Institute of Survey and Mapping, which is an institution that is training students on survey, on mapping, and other land-related matters. In short, those are the departments that we have within the State Department that is helping us now in discharging our constitutional mandate, which is basically our main mandate is issuance of the title and securing the land tenure. We facilitate conveyancing. We are a public-facing State Department. We engage with members of the public every day in terms of supporting conveyancing, be it the issuance of searches, transfers, processing of mortgages, and charging of the lands together with the banks. So basically, we facilitate conveyancing. We do planning. And in doing all that, we also now contribute to revenue contribution to this country through either stamp duty or through other charges that are part of our AEA. So I think, Honorable Chief of Staff, my officers have taken us through most of the things that we do. Mine, in a nutshell, is just to say that land is an enabler, and I think Collins did in his presentation say that land is a very important thing in this country. It's a factor of production. It's an enabler to development. Most of the projects that we are dealing with as a country, be it agriculture, the big five, be it agriculture, the issue of affordable housing, the issue of building markets, constructions of roads, the railway line that we are talking about. All these things, there is a component of land that needs to be dealt with through compensation or acquisition or titling. And therefore, the State Department is a very important State Department in terms of development of this country. And I want to appreciate all the staff, my staff from the State Department, for the good work that they've done. I want to say that our staff are committed and they have done their best. The Chief of Staff, this meeting that you've called today, which is a sectoral engagement, is the purpose of this meeting is to look at our collective responsibility as public servants in implementing the constitutional values and principles of public service, improving performance and efficiency to optimal level, and providing premier service to the public qualitatively, quantitatively, and in good time. In essence, Chief of Staff, this meeting is about efficiency in public service. And I want to say that as part of trying to improve our efficiency, we are digitalizing our land records, as been indicated in our presentation. Right now, we did our digitization in Nairobi. We moved to Moranga, Isiolo. We are in Mombasa. And I'm happy to report that we intend to progress in this process of digitization to the entire country. This digitization will help us in sorting out many issues, especially related to land fraud. As Collins also did in his presentation, indicated that majority of the land cases, majority of the cases in our courts are related to land. If you go to the ELC court, most of the cases, if you compare the cases that are in court, the cases that are in ELC court are the majority of the cases. And therefore, we need to digitize our land records so that we can be able to deal with either mistakes or land frauds that happen within the land sector. And therefore, we are processing our digitization, and we intend to roll out this digitization to the entire country in due course. The biggest challenge ahead of public service has been resources. And because of this, we've now engaged the World Bank, which has approved a budget that will help us run this digitization for the next 5 years. And we anticipate that if we have proper financing within the next between 5 to 10 years, we should be able to roll out digitization in the entire country. It's a rigorous process, and therefore it cannot be done within 1 year, even given all the resources, because there are so many other things that needs to be done. But most importantly, the quick wins that we think that we should be able to do and finish even within 1 or 2 years is the issue of having good registries. I know there is an officer who mentioned about the facelifting of our land registries. It is true, some of our registries are still in bad states, and we are working with the parliament to ensure that we have a budgetary allocation so that we can be able to facelift, not even facelifting, make our registries workable, because there's a difference between facelifting and making them efficient and workable. We ensure that we have good record management systems. We have racks so that we stop keeping our records in cartons. We have offices that are not leaking so that we can be able to secure our land records. So we are working on ensuring that we can be able to have workable registries that are in good conditions that our officers can be able to operate in. We also want to quickly rearrange, organize our records and scan our records so that we can have our records in a digital platform where you can be able to trace a file within the shortest time possible. Because we think if we just do these two things, ensure that we have records that are well organized, we have offices that are workable, and we scan our records so that we can have them in our digital platform, then we can be able to render our services efficiently. So on head of public service, I want to say that we are really happy for this meeting. We will continue engaging with our staffs. I know there are questions in regards to the issue of land boards by units from Nakuru. We will engage so that we can ensure that most of the issues that we've raised, either through the question and answer platform, or also that we have raised on the platform, we will pick all the questions that you've raised. Those are that we can address within the State Department, we will address them. Those ones that we need to escalate to the head of public service, we will pick it to the head of public service and ensure that we deal with it. I want to also say that on the issue of revenue collection on head of public service, I'm happy to report that we really increased our revenue collection, especially the stamp duty. 3 years ago, we had a target. 3 years ago, we had a target of between 9 to 10 billion in terms of collection of stamp duty. But last year, head of public service, we actually collected stamp duty in excess of 15 billion, which is a very good progress. And we have a target of raising the stamp duty collection to over 20 billion in the next few years. We have done some of the things that we've done is there was, of course, the review and realigning of the stamp duty collection in terms of those ones that are within the municipality, because there are new municipalities that have been gazetted in the last 3 years. And we instructed our officers to ensure that within the municipality, we charge the 4% as required by the law, and outside the municipality, we charge 2% of stamp duty. We still have a challenge, as I discussed with you, head of public service, in terms of the issue of the stamp duty. And we are now undertaking an audit within the State Department. We just concluded an audit a month ago, which we are preparing a report in regards to the stamp duty collection and revenue collection. We've established that we still lose some revenue in some of the stations, either through collusions or omissions of our officers. We are preparing the report. I had shared with you that the officers that we will surcharge them for the loss of revenue, either valuers who undervalue property or collusions by the officers to ensure to support and support crooks who evade paying of stamp duty. We have a report that we are concluding. We will surcharge some officers, and I had also mentioned to you, head of public service, that there are also officers that will actually process them through the disciplinary processes, and also some of them that will hand them over to the investigating agency so that we can be able to stop that that issue of fraud in regards to revenue collection. On the other issue is in the issue of land fraud. I know we have also discussed this, and we are engaging with the DCI and ESCC to ensure that we stop and nab the issue of the land fraud. We are working very closely to ensure that we can able to reduce the issue of land fraud to zero, even as we do the digitization. Head of Public Service, lastly, I want to commit as a PS for the State Department and say that we are working very well together with our staff. I also want to thank you because of the support you've given us, especially when I came to your office, Head of Public Service, in regards to the welfare of our staff, the promotions of our staff, the employment of the new valuers, the additional employment of the surveyors. We are working now in ensuring that we finally get all the staff that are required in our NLIMS department. We will need additional registrars, and I know every time I've come to your office, Head of Public Service, you've supported us. I will continue coming to the office to ask for more support so that we can be able to render services to Mwananchi. I wish to sincerely express my appreciation to you, Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service, for convening this meeting. The guidance provided together with the reflection, the candid reflections from our staff, has been invaluable in reaffirming our collective commitment to improving service delivery within the land sector. Colleagues, our discussion today have not only highlighted the progress we've made, but also brought out the challenges affecting our day-to-day operations, including resource constraints, operational bottleneck, and institutional gap. I have listened keenly to your concerns, and I want to assure you that your voice have been heard. We will continue engaging. We had a meeting of all staff last year. After this, we will also have another meeting together with you, separately with all the Head of Public Service, that we can be able now to have maybe a one-on-one in-house matters that can be sorted. As a department, we commit to strengthening ongoing initiatives, including digitization of land services, enhancing revenue collection mechanism, accelerating issues of title deeds, and addressing the welfare and capacity needs of our staff. We will also prioritize the implementation of the recommendation arising from this engagement with clear timelines and accountability framework. I wish to assure the Head of Public Service that the State Department of Land and Physical Planning remains fully aligned to the broader government agenda, and it's steadfast in its resolve to deliver efficient, transparent, and citizen-centered service. I also wish to emphasize that accountability and performance will remain central to our operation. As we push for improved working conditions, we must equally commit ourselves to professionalism, integrity, and timely service delivery. Going forward, we will strengthen internal communication and continuous engagement with our staff to ensure that emerging issues are addressed promptly and collaboratively. Finally, I thank all participants for their active contribution and reaffirm our commitment to working together as a team to build more responsive, effective, and result-driven sector. Having said that, I want to say thank you very much, and I want to take this opportunity now to invite the Chief of Staff and Head of Public Service to make his remarks and as we progress. Thank you very much. Karibu, Head of Public Service.
Thank you very much, Nixon, for your assurance. Our Principal Secretary in charge of State Department for Land and Physical Planning, all chairpersons of boards, members of boards, and CEOs of institutions within the State Department. I hope NLC is there. Senior officials and staff from State Departments, all distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me at the outset to express my sincere and heartfelt appreciation to each one of you serving within the land sector. The work you do is fundamental to the functioning of this country. Land is not just a resource, it is a foundation of livelihoods, development, investments, and social stability. Every release, every title issued, every record maintained, every dispute resolved, and every person managed has a direct impact on the lives of Kenyans. Beyond the systems and institutions we speak about, it is you as individuals, working in registries, in survey offices, in adjudication processes, and in the field, who carry the responsibility of ensuring that land is administered fairly, efficiently, and transparently. I recognize that this work is often complex and demanding. You deal with historical issues, competing interests, legal sensitivities, and high public expectation. In many cases, you operate under pressure and scrutiny, yet you continue to serve. Your efforts are visible in the progress being made towards digitization of land records, in the issuance of titles, and in the ongoing efforts to improve land administration systems. This is not ordinary work. It requires integrity, professionalism, and a deep sense of responsibility, because land issues touch on livelihoods, investments, and at times, social cohesion. I also acknowledge that you carry out this work in challenging circumstances, where expectations are high and resources may be stretched, yet you continue to show commitment. I want you to know that your work matters. Your role in ensuring secure land tenure, orderly development, and public confidence in land administration is essential to the growth and stability of our nation. Ladies and gentlemen, as we appreciate the work that has been done, we must now firmly anchor it within the broader direction of government. Under the bottom-up economic transformation agenda, the land sector plays a central and enabling role in national development. Land is a platform upon which key sectors such as agriculture, housing, infrastructure, and investments are built. Without an efficient, transparent, and reliable land administration system, these sectors cannot function optimally. This places a significant responsibility on your State Department. One of the key priorities under the government's agenda is the delivery of affordable housing and sustainable urban development. This cannot be achieved without secure land tenure, accurate land records, and efficient land administration systems. The process of land allocation, registration, and documentation must therefore be timely, transparent, and free from disputes. Equally, the digitization of land records remains a critical reform priority. The transition from manual to digital system is not just about technology. It is about improving efficiency, enhancing transparency, reducing opportunities for malpractice, and restoring public confidence in land administration. The sector also plays a role in supporting investments and economic growth. Investors require certainty. They require clear, secure, and verifiable land ownership. Any delays, inconsistencies, or disputes within the land system directly affects the ease of doing business and the attractiveness of our country as an investment nation. At the same time, land remains a sensitive and at times emotive issue in our country. Historical land challenges, boundary disputes, and competing claims require careful, fair, and transparent handling. This places an even greater responsibility on this sector to act with integrity, professionalism, and consistency. Ladies and gentlemen, we have made deliberate progress in digitizing land services through systems such as Thematic. This reform is important and commendable. However, we must be candid here. Automation has not yet fully eliminated delays, inefficiencies, or malpractice in land sector. The persistence of these challenges point to a deeper issue. We have digitized process, but we have not fully transformed them. Where manual intervention still exists, where approvals can still be delayed, where discretion remains unchecked, the old problems continue to find space within the new systems. At the same time, under the Zero Fault Audit Initiative, one issue continues to occur and recur across ministries, departments, and agencies: the lack of valid land ownership documents. Year after year, institutions are flagged for operating on land without titles, leases, or proper documentation. This is not a minor administrative oversight. It is a systemic governance gap that exposes public assets to risks and undermines accountability. But when we press these MDAs on why they have not acquired the titles or ownership documents, they always say their complication is Ministry of Lands, issues are so slow, and therefore there is nothing more that they can do. This therefore raises a fundamental question. What is the State Department for Lands doing to be facilitating? As government, we are pursuing a whole-of-government approach, and this must be reflected in action. I expect the State Department for Lands, on its own accord, to actively facilitate other ministries, departments, and agencies, removing bottlenecks, guiding processes, and unlocking pending cases wherever possible. Institutions should not be left to navigate complexity alone when the responsibility for land administration rests at the center. We cannot continue to digitize inefficiency, nor can we continue to audit the same problem year after year. Public land must be secure, ownership must be documented, and every process must be transparent, traceable, and accountable. The expectations placed on the sector are therefore high. You are not just administrators of land. You are enablers of development, custodians of public trust, and key drivers of economic transformation. And for that reason, your work must align fully with the national priorities and deliver results that are visible, credible, and impactful. Having outlined the importance of this sector and its alignment with national priorities, we must now confront a difficult but necessary reality. There are deep-seated internal weaknesses within the land sector that continue to undermine service delivery, that distort justice, and also erode public trust. These are not isolated incidences. They are systemic challenges that are well known, widely experienced, and in many cases perpetuated from within. Allow me to address them directly. The first serious issue is entrenched corruption in land administration processes. Corruption within land processes remain one of the most serious challenges facing this sector. Services that should be straightforward, such as transfers, consents, and title processing, are often delayed, complicated, or made inaccessible, not because the system cannot work, but because it is being manipulated. There are instances where files cannot be found or traced until facilitation is provided, where processes are moved only when informal payments are made, where officers exercise discretion, not in the interest of service, but in pursuit of personal gain. This is not inefficiency. It is deliberate obstruction, and it directly undermines fairness, equity, and access to services. And I want to add on this and also echo what the peers are saying. We have observed and we have the reports that there is serious and gross revenue loss. The loss that are instigated by members of the staff across the country, collusion between our officers in the State Department of Lands and fraudsters, lawyers, surveyors, etc., and valuers specifically. We want to issue this warning that the audit reports that have reached us, the information that we have received, needs to be acted on very sternly, very, very firmly, and those officers who are found who have participated in this manipulation are separated from government and surcharged to pay for the monies that the government has lost because of the manipulation. So I'm asking the PS to take decisive action, quickly move in, get the culprits, and either leave government after they pay what they have stolen. The second issue is collusion, fraud, and deliberate manipulation of land records. Even more concerning are cases of collusion within the system. There have been credible instances where legitimate land records are altered, files disappear, registry entries are interfered with, and original titles are irregularly cancelled or replaced. We have seen situations where rightful owner is told that their land records cannot be found, only for the same parcel to reappear under a different name. We have seen cases where parallel titles are issued for the same property, each appearing legitimate within the system. These are not clerical errors. These are coordinated acts of fraud. They dispossess citizens, fuel conflicts, stall investments, and in some cases, lead to long-term legal battles that take years to resolve. The third issue that we need to note is multiple allocation and abuse of discretionary powers. The issue of double or multiple allocation of land continues to persist. In some cases, public land is allocated more than once. In others, land already under private ownership is regularly assigned. This is often enabled by weak controls, poor record systems, or deliberate abuse of authority. Discretion is exercised without accountability, and processes meant to safeguard land ownership are bypassed. The result is predictable disputes, litigation, stalled development, and loss of confidence in the system. The fourth is delays engineered to create opportunity for manipulation. Delays within the land system are not always accidental. In many cases, they are engineered. Files move slowly, approvals take unnecessarily long, and processes stalled without explanation. This creates frustration for citizens and investors, and in some cases, creates pressure for them to seek alternative means to move processes forward. This is how inefficiency becomes a tool for rent seeking. And on this point, I want to urge the management, the PS and the management of this State Department to reorganize their management approach, to make sure that their targets, their timelines, we need system charters to ensure that officers, the few officers who are crooked in what they are doing, don't stall processes whenever citizens approach you people. We have seen, and we have test runs. We have what we call mystery finding. People, the government sends to check, to test the processes. And we have realized that majority of delays, slow process, is not because the systems are not working, not because the officers are ignorant, but because the delays are intentional to make the applicant or the owner of whatever parcel of land is processing his papers to seek for alternative means of making it hastened. And that means is one, to grease the hands of those who are handling, to pay for money for work that is otherwise a responsibility of the officer, an obligation of the officer, and to make the government look corrupt, make the government look inefficient, and thereafter bring in what we call mistrust by the people of Kenya. And therefore, this rent seeking, because of indolence, because of calculated slowing of the processes, must end. The fifth is weak record management and vulnerability of land information systems. Despite progress in digitization, gaps remain. Incomplete records, inconsistencies between manual and digital systems, and missing documentation create opportunities for manipulation. Where records are not secure, they can be altered. Where systems are not integrated, discrepancies can be exploited. A land system that cannot guarantee the integrity of its records cannot guarantee ownership. The sixth issue is fragmentation and lack of accountability across functions. Survey, registration, adjudication, and planning functions do not always operate in a coordinated manner. This fragmentation creates gaps, and within those gaps, irregularities occur, responsibilities diffused, and accountability becomes unclear. The seventh is weak enforcement and limited consequences for malpractices. Perhaps most concerning is that where these issues occur, consequences are not always swift, visible, or consistent. We had an initiative by my office on proportionate, lawful consequences on infractions made. There are several infractions that are made by officers right from down the ladder, and supervisors look the other way. And climbing up to the management level, to the director level, we still allow people who have committed mistakes, infractions, to be free to do what they want to do. And when you want to correct it, what you do is to bypass the person that you know is a toll station or a person who is an expert in altering papers, documents, and the fellow still remains in office looking for every opportunity to carry out and continue carrying out his trade. I think the PS and all the top management make sure that infractions caused by these people is quickly responded by consequences on the same. It has to be swift, it has to be visible, and it has to be consistent. One offense intentionally made by an officer, for example, in Nairobi, the consequences that officer faces should be broadcasted for everybody to know. That manipulating a document or hiding a file or intentionally inserting details that are not supposed to be there is not acceptable, and therefore action must be taken. So one mistake in one corner should meet consequences that are pronounced for the entire sector to know that it is an offense, it is wrong to do one or the other mistake or the other intention or manipulation, so that we move the State Department and the sector in a manner that is coherent and a department that everyone understands what is required of them. When misconduct is not addressed decisively, it creates a perception that such behavior is tolerated. It normalizes malpractice, and weakens discipline across the sector. Ladies and gentlemen, these are not external pressures. You can see a file disappearing, manipulation of data, issuance of double certificates, delays to issue even this document, and evaluation whenever you are sent value, are not external, but they're internal. And if we are honest with ourselves, we know that these issues have existed for too long. They affect livelihoods, they affect investment, they affect justice, and they affect public confidence in government. This must come to an end, ladies and gentlemen, because a land system that cannot be trusted is a system that cannot support development. And a public service that cannot guarantee fairness cannot sustain the trust of its people. At the center of all that we do is the Kenyan citizen, who ultimately judges the effectiveness of this sector not by policies procedures, or internal processes, but by their lived experience. For many Kenyans, interaction with the land sector is often at a critical moment when they are seeking to secure ownership, transfer property, invest, resolve disputes, or protect what is rightful theirs. In that moment, they are not concerned with systems or structures. They are looking for certainty, fairness, and timely service. Citizens expect that when they conduct a search, the information they receive is accurate and reliable. They expect that when they hold a title, it is secure and protected. They expect that when they submit documents for registration or transfer, the process will be clear, timely, and free from unnecessary obstacles. They also expect that the system will treat individuals equally, that access to services will not depend on influence, connections, or informal payments, that decisions will be based on law and procedure and no discretion or personal interest. Many Kenyans today are more informed, more aware, and more exposed to how systems operate elsewhere. They understand what efficient, transparent, and predictable public services look like, and they expect the same from their own institutions. I want to add and say that nowadays people travel, people live in other countries, people transact, they invest across the world, they acquire properties across the world. They know the kind of efficiency they get there. So when they come back home, they expect the same. But what do they see? It's a horrible, very lazy, very inefficient system that not only frustrates its citizens, but also investors from abroad. So this is why we are saying we need to clean up and make sure that the sector is operating efficiently and effectively. It therefore cannot be acceptable that a citizen who has legitimately acquired land lives in fear of it due to, or losing it due to irregular processes. It cannot be acceptable that records are unreliable, that transactions are delayed without explanation, or that disputes arise from failures within the system itself. This places responsibility on all of us. Collectively, we must ensure that the land administration system is credible, transparent, and efficient, that processes are clear, records are secure, and outcomes are fair. But equally important is individual responsibility, because at the end of the day, the citizen does not interact with a system. They interact with a person. They interact with an officer at the registry, an officer handling their file, or an officer making a decision that affects their property. And it is that individual interaction that determines whether the system is seen as working or failing. If one officer delays, the system is seen as inefficient. If one officer compromises integrity, the system is seen as corrupt. And if one officer acts professionally and fairly, it is seen as credible. Each one of us, therefore, carries the face of government. The question we must ask ourselves is simple. When a Kenyan engages with this sector, what do they experience? Do they find certainty or confusion? Do they find fairness or frustration? Do they find a system that protects them or one that exposes them? Because ultimately, that is the standard by which we'll be judged. Ladies and gentlemen, having reflected on the expectation of the citizens we serve, we must now turn to the focus inwards. To ourselves as public officers, the responsibility placed upon us is not ordinary. It demands professionalism, integrity, and discipline, and an unwavering commitment to service. This is a standard we must uphold consistently and without exception. As government, we are deliberately building a public service that is responsive, accountable, and result-driven, one that delivers quality services efficiently, reliably, and with integrity. This direction is clear and is not negotiable. It therefore requires each one of us to take honest and personal reflection on our role within this system. If you are committed to service, to professionalism, and to delivering results for the people of Kenya, then this is your space, and you must step forward and perform with the highest standards. However, if one is not prepared to uphold these values, if one is unwilling to act with integrity, discipline, and accountability, then deliberate decisions must be made. This sector cannot carry individuals who compromises processes, delays services, and manipulate systems or undermine public trust. The responsibility we hold is too great, and the consequences of failure are too significant. Those who are not ready to be part of the public service we are building must reflect seriously and, where necessary, separate from government, step aside to allow those who are committed, capable, and ready to serve to take up the responsibility. Because ultimately, the credibility of this sector will not be determined by structures or policies, but by the conduct and performance of those entrusted to serve within the sector. The expectation of the land sector, just as with all the sectors that we have engaged, are clear, deliberate, and non-negotiable. They are as follows. Number one, you must align your activities and services with the government development agenda. All programs and activities must align fully with the bottom-up economic transformation agenda. This includes supporting key national priorities, such as affordable housing, infrastructure development, agricultural productivity, and investment facilitation through secure, efficient, and transparent land administration systems. Secondly, you must ensure that all officers is out to reinforce values and professional standards. Integrity, accountability, professionalism, efficiency, and responsiveness must define how we operate. These values must be evident in every land transaction, every record handled, and every decision made. The credibility of this sector depends on it. The third matter that we need to be mindful about is mindset and attitude transformation. We must move away from routine, process-driven approaches to a result-driven and service-oriented culture. What matters is not how long a file stays in the system, but how efficiently and accurately it is processed, from activity to impact, from delay to delivery. The fourth issue is breaking institutional silos. We must operate as one coordinated system. Survey, registration, adjudication, planning, and settlement functions must work seamlessly together. The State Department of Lands, again, must work together with other state departments, agencies, and also departments, so that we have one coherent, impactful engine called government that will really carry and carry out the transformation that His Excellency the President has elaborated clearly and firmly to succeed. We cannot be the ones who are sabotaging His Excellency the President. We cannot be the ones who are frustrating his agendas. We cannot agree and accept anybody who wants to undermine the efforts of His Excellency the President and the government. And therefore, and you are aware that fragmentation creates gaps. Those gaps are where inefficiency and malpractices thrive. The fifth matter that you need to consider is citizen-centered service delivery. Our work must restore confidence in the citizen, secure titles, reliable records, timely services, clear processes. That is the standard. A Kenyan must be able to transact in land with certainty, without fear, and without unnecessary difficulty. The sixth is prudent management of public resources. All resources must be used efficiently, transparently, and strictly for the intended purpose. Land itself is a public resource, and its management must reflect the highest standard of stewardship. There must be zero tolerance for misuse, irregular allocation, or loss of public assets. The seventh is strengthening monitoring and evaluation. I'm asking the peers to really focus on this so that efficiency is measured and inefficiencies and challenges are identified early enough. We must track for performance, monitor service delivery timelines, and ensure accountability at every stage. Not just processes, but outcomes. Not just files handled, but services delivered. Not just systems in place, but trust restored. Ladies and gentlemen, these expectations are directly linked to the challenges we have discussed and the results we must now deliver. This message must not end here. It must be cascaded to every level, every institution, and every officer without exception. Every leader present here bears personal responsibility to ensure that this agenda is communicated, understood, and implemented. All institutions are directed to align their work plans accordingly, strengthen internal accountability mechanisms, and ensure strict adherence to the values and standards outlined. Progress must be reported, outcomes must be demonstrated, gaps must be addressed. Let there no be ambiguity. Implementation is not optional, it is expected and it is required. And it must be visible in the quality, efficiency, and integrity of the services delivered. And before I conclude, I want to urge all of us that this administration is really focused on transformation. And for transformation to be seen, to take root, it is our responsibility, all of us, from that watchman at the gate, whether he's on permanent and pensionable, or he is on contract, right from that person, messengers, accountants, human resource experts, procurement people, ICT people, administration, physical planners, land valuers, and all the profession in the sector, right from down there to the PS, to the minister, up until to the president. We have to be part of that journey. We have to contribute the little that we can in our corner, because each and every one of us has a responsibility that has been assigned. Let us do it perfectly well. Let us be very efficient in what we are doing, and let us focus, and let us remind ourselves every minute that the journey that we have taken is a transformative journey that will take this country from the current third world to the first world in our lifetime. I want to add and say all what I have narrated down here in the document, all what I have stated are facts on the ground. We are in this country. Personally, I've gotten serious challenges and I even lost money because of the State Department of Lands. More specifically, your office in Eldoret. Several years ago, I decided to buy some parcel. All the documents were okay. The lawyer transacted. confirmed, did the search, went physically to the Ministry of Lands. Not only the confirmation was done in writing through the search, but also verbally, because he walked there to the counter and demanded to know and see the file. And interestingly, or how it turned was very interesting. Once we had confirmed all that, we transacted and started paying the shock of everything after us paying the seller. My lawyer went now to do the transfer. But shockingly, the file that he had even perused, even the green card contents that were in that file had changed. And the real actual owner's details were there. And he was told, sorry, the land that you want to transfer belongs to a professor in Moi University. And that is a span of 2 weeks. And truly so. We sought to confirm from the professor, and he came with the original title, that whose contents were mirroring the ones that are in the green card. So I lost the money. And the people who made me lose the money are the staff of State Departments of Lands, because they are the ones who manipulated the file, bringing in a different green card to align to the person who was sending to me. They are the ones who helped in confirming the ownership and everything else, whether there is encumbrances or not, through the search. They signed, and later on, they turned around and they corrected the file to read the actual owner. So many people, that is one challenge that I've faced myself from the actions of your staff. And there are so many people frustrated in this town. They cannot access the records. They cannot get to know the accuracy. They go to Ruaraka, they take 6 months for documents to be moved to wherever. You get the plans or the maps, I don't know what to call them. They have been superimposed. There are 2 different descriptions of parcels on the same land. But if you pick a surveyor who is a fraudster, the kind of process, the speed at which the transfers are done is amazing. It is what we need. But after a bribery has been transacted. And therefore, I want to urge all of us, ladies and gentlemen, that all these things that we are doing are evil things, are things that will not take us anywhere. All these monies that we seem to be running up and down acquiring will not take us anywhere. You've seen billionaires dying and leaving money behind. You've seen fraudsters, when they die, all the monies are either taken by their confidants, their girlfriends, their boyfriends, because they were hiding. All beautiful buildings that were acquired through fraud are always, they end up into serious fights even amongst those who are going to inherit. And most of the time, the people that you are working so hard to steal for will be the most poorest people in this country in that time. So let us do the right thing. the little money that we are getting from our salaries, from our honest side hustles, step by step, we shall achieve. And we shall make solid foundation for our children and the children of our children to grow. If you don't make to be a billionaire now, your children may be millionaires. Your children of your children will be billionaires. And that is how life is. Let us not take advantage of the citizens, desperate as they are, to mess them up. Another case in point was one that a very poor, desperate widow around Nairobi was pursuing or were trying to do their succession. Having known the state at which that lady was, our land officers started demanding over a portion, a parcel of it, for them to hasten the process of regularizing documents to the administrator or to the people or to the beneficiaries. Just reflect and think how unfair, how evil it is to say, if I want to help you, this widow, out of your 10 acres, I will hide for me 1 acre, 2 acres. This is what is happening, and you know. In Kilifi, if you go to Kilifi now, it is terrible. If you go to Kwale, coastal area, it is terrible. People don't want even to go to court anymore because they will lose anyway, because the documents have been manipulated by fraudsters in your offices. And therefore, your colleagues will just walk into the door and witness wrong documents with the right documents, wrong ownership with the right ownership. So it is a sad moment, it's a sad thing in this country. And I want to finally say that the transformation of this country cannot happen in the speed that we want, in the speed that the president wants, if we don't, all of us, believe in it. Because Ministry of Lands is a central sector that can make things happen. Investors want land. People want to own land. People want to construct other facilities. Roads have to be constructed, they pass through land. Railways, many other things. You are central. And as you are central, please rise to the occasion and be professional, be transparent, operate with integrity, and make this country transform in a speed that is envisaged by the president. So in conclusion, I want to urge each one of you to return to your duty station with urgency and purpose. As a nation, we are already behind where we ought to be in ensuring secure land tenure, efficient land administration, and public confidence in this sector. We cannot afford to lose any more time. The task before us is significant, but it is achievable if we actively, or if we act decisively, diligently, and without delay. Let us move with speed. Let us move with focus. Let us move with determination to restore integrity, efficiency, and trust in the land sector. Because in the end, what will matter is not what we said, but what we did. Thank you, and God bless us all.
Thank you very much, our Head of Public Service. We've heard you loud and clear. My colleagues, I believe we've heard the tone from the top. It is upon us now to follow what we've been advised, to do the right thing, to ensure that we re-energize and revitalize the land sector. So allow me to appreciate the Head of Public Service for organizing this meeting I think this is a first one for our State Department. We've never had a meeting encompassing all of us. Thank you very much. Allow me also to appreciate our Principal Secretary. Thank you, sir. We've heard you, and we promise to put our best foot forward, and we are going to improve service delivery in our State Department. So to close, I'm going to invite Madam Irene Mutai to pray for us. And I assure everyone those questions sent will be answered. Welcome, Irene.
Let us pray.
Let us pray. Let us pray. Let us pray.
Dear Lord, we want to thank you this afternoon for the good meeting that we have had. Father, we want to give you praise, glory, and honor. And now as we go to implement and execute our mandate, we want to pray that, Father, Lord, you shall help us and cause us to be diligent, to be committed, to be dedicated and faithful to the call of being a public servant. Father, we thank you for the leadership of today's meeting, Head of Public Service and our Permanent Secretary. Father, Lord, wisdom and knowledge comes from you, and we ask that you would give them the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understanding. We want to pray that you may bless our country, let there be peace, let there be prosperity, and we pray for the welfare of the members of staff and the great nation of Kenya. Be exalted and glorified in the name of Jesus Christ. We have prayed and believed. Amen.